Hey everybody, how are we today? Having a little bit of technical issues, but that's okay because we don't really care, do we, Randy Taylor from the AustinComedy.com?
We do not care. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning. We're sitting here looking at each other, trying to get the computer to work, and we got done with a really big rainstorm here in Queens, New York last night. Randy, what's your weather like?
It's hot, it's humid. The mornings are pretty nice, but the afternoons get 95, 96 Fahrenheit. And I actually drove my convertible yesterday, and the top was open, and the vinyl seats get so hot that I have to put a towel. So we have to be careful. It's hot, but it's August. It's August in Austin, Texas, so we're not surprised.
Not surprised at all. Same with us. And we have a lot of mosquitoes. So I'm loading myself up with peppermint because that's supposed to ward off mosquitoes.
I had not heard that.
Yeah, I've been dousing myself with it.
So you drink peppermint like iced tea peppermint?
Yeah, and I want it coming out of my pores and I I bathe in it trying to keep the mosquitoes away.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So we'll get into your interview. Let me read this introduction that you sent me on your website. You have a really funny description of your life. I that is such a create people need to go on theaustincomedy.com and read this amazing story of your life that's so succinct and so creative.
Thank you.
I can't even read it. There's too many words I don't know.
Well, if you read it, it was written for me by my webmaster. He took the privilege of taking some themes or some stories from movies that he had watched. I didn't read it until he already published it. So So some of it may be true, but it is a comedy website. That's our goal.
That's it. It's very funny. Okay, I'm going to try to read your introduction without any flaws. Let's see if I can do this for the first time out of 1,204 comedians. Okay. It says here that Randy Taylor from theaustincomedy.com has been doing stand-up comedy on and off since the mid 1980s. He called Austin Comedy. We had a weekly stand-up show at the Hilton Bar in Austin, Texas for a few years, along with a local access TV show where he interviewed comedians, wrote and performed comedy sketches live on TV. And back then, local access TV had no time delays. If you if you said it, it broadcasted. We took live phone calls and I'd ask the caller for a new joke. If I heard the joke, I hung up on them. The four lines were always it. The phone lines were always lit. Fast forward to March of this year, I built an outdoor stage. This is so cool in South Austin, and we've had a show once a month ever since. I average 40 to 50 people along with 7 to 8 comedians. I stalk Austin comedy clubs to recruit local talent who I think are funny and ask them if they would like to be on my show. Most say yes, but not all call me, which is fine. Welcome to the stage right now, the ever funny in real life, hilarious Randy Taylor from the AustinComedy.com. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm getting ready to go. Got a couple of headliners from Vegas that came out to meet me, and they asked to get on a show, so I'm taking them to Comic Strip tonight.
Oh, good. Good.
What are you doing
Okay.
tonight, Randy Taylor?
Well, tonight I'm taking off, and so I'm going to go over to my brother's shop, and there's a water leak over there, so I it's a rental house, so I've got to fix the water leak. The girl hadn't showered in a couple of days, so that's what I'm gonna take all this off. I've got my logo here. I'm gonna take all this off and put on some dirty clothes. So that's what my plan is today. I've got to use my vacation time before the end of August. So I've got to take some days off, and I go on vacation to fix plumbing leaks. But I did go to, I went to New York. I spent 5 or 6 days up there. That's how I ran into you. And I will tell you a quick story. The coincidence, there were several coincidences when we went to New York, and that was one of them. We happened to leave the game. We got on the subway. The subway was packed. We were shoved up against the door. The door's open, and you and Michelle walk in, and we
Michelle
just started.
Ballin.
Yes, Michelle Allen, and we just started talking. And it's like, wait, you do stand up? I do stand up. And you're thinking 8 million people, and that happens. And then I went to her show that night, and it was a great show. It was a perfect venue, the perfect amount of people. I didn't see a lot of empty seats, and it was really a good show. And I know there's a lot of talent in New York. There's a lot of talent in Austin. And the main reason I started Austin comedy, the stage thing, was because I wanted to get up and do stand up again. I do it off and on. And I realized that to get on stage for 5 to 7 minutes in Austin, you can't do it. You can't do it. You're competing with the opening act, the headliners, et cetera, et cetera. And even if you do get on stage, it's for 3 minutes. You can't even warm up the crowd in 3 minutes. And you can't tell your friends because you don't know whether you're going on stage till an hour before the show. And so there's no parking, there's cover. And I thought I'm going to start my own stage. And so I built a stage. I got the lights, got the cameras, the sound system, all that kind of stuff, which I had a lot of it anyway. And like you said, I do go to comedy clubs. The last 3 shows, I have not had to go to comedy clubs. I've had people calling me, which is nice because every time I go to a comedy club, it's $30 because you have to drink and you have two minimum, two different minimum, 2 item minimum, I mean. So it's been really nice. I did go to one last night and talked to a couple of guys. In Austin, there's comedy clubs all over the place. There's open mics all over the place. Um, Zero cover, but it's only 3 minutes. The majority of them are only 3 minutes. I've had this banner since the mid 80s. Like I said, like you said on my intro, I would put this banner, put 2 people in front of it sitting in a chair. Uh, the live phone calls were insane. It's just you can't hit the buttons fast enough. I've heard it, I've heard it, I've heard it. Um, I started recognizing callers. I knew what they were going to say because they want to be mean and nasty. And I learned a long time ago on my show. I said, don't tell anyone not to say anything. I mean, the N word. They would let it out. It would slip in. I said, I learned if you tell people not to say something, they're going to say it. So you just ignore them. You just ignore them. You just keep going. Next caller, next caller, next caller. I got real good with the buttons, and so that was the public access show, and I put the banner up here behind me at the show on the stage. I don't know if I sent you a picture or not, but and then I put one out by the road, and gates open at 6:30, and by 7:05, I'm starting to bring up the comedians. I do my stuff at the beginning, of course, because I'm the MC. It's my ranch, I say. And I do 5 or 10 minutes, warm up the crowd, and then I start bringing people up at a time, one at a time. And then, uh, depending on how well I know the comedian, I may give them a longer intro, or I just may keep the show going. And by 8:30, quarter to 9, uh, we're done. And actually, I just remember this, the 2 last shows, one of the comedians works at a brewery. And even though my venue's BYOB, she's been bringing kegs. So, um, uh, so anyway, that's the gist of it. I will say, will tell you this, that I really enjoy this because I'm actually writing more. I'm writing for myself, but then I have people that have never done stand-up before that want to go up. And so I tell them, I said, don't try to be funny. Just tell me about your life. Tell me about your mom, your dad, where do you work, all this other stuff. And then they send it to me and I look, read it, and I try to set up the structure, set up punch, punch, punch. And I've done that to about uh, five or six, five or six comedians now. And they've gone on stage and now they want to come back. Comedy, comedy is like cocaine. It, once you do it once, they just want to keep doing it, but it's totally legal.
Exactly.
I'm talking too much. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I love when people come on and just take over because it makes my job so much easier and you get to say what's important to you without my interrupting. So
I
that's all
appreciate
right.
that.
I've had
Appreciate it.
people do that, for the entire time. Why don't you tell people like what it was like growing up and like siblings and your family and early things that impressed you that made you who you are today? And why do you care about other comics?
Okay. Those are all really good questions. I'm an Air Force brat, so I'm one of six kids. And so I'm in the middle. I'm number four. And so I learned everything from my older siblings and did not teach the younger ones any of it. So I was in the middle. It was really great. My dad was a retired Air Force pilot, and he retired when I was 18 years old. So uh, I left for college. I went to Amarillo, Texas for college. So I wasn't home when he was home. And as a military, are you a military brat or are you military also?
I was in the army.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Um, and I won't say thank you for your cervix because that's a joke. In your case, thank you for your cervix.
I
I'm
had
sorry.
enough other guys thanking me for it.
I told I told my wife the joke that you wrote. Um, put your phones on vibrate and hand them to Linda, and then call me.
Did she like it? I have to try that tonight at Comic Strip.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, I'm from a family of six siblings. Um, I grew up in 4 years in England, and in those formative years, I was 8 to 12. There were three channels: BBC One, Two, Three, however many, I think, whatever it was. So I grew up watching Monty Python, and that was, I'm not saying that that's what did it, but that's like, this is funny. This is funny. These guys are funny. And then I came. Oh, we spent some time. Sorry, my dog is right here. You
What
can't see her
kind of
now. Hi,
dog?
girl.
Let's
Well,
see.
let's see.
Oh,
There
what
she
a
is.
sweetheart.
Come here, girl. Come here, Snickers. Come
Come
here,
here,
girl.
puppy.
Come
Here,
here.
puppy,
Say hi
puppy,
to say
puppy.
hi. Say hi to Linda. Say hi.
Gorgeous.
There she is.
Such
She's my,
sweet eyes.
oh, she is. She's a great dog.
I love her.
A comedian was talking about, I can't think of his name. Anyway, he was talking about they're not dogs anymore. They're people. In fact, I just read an article that dogs that sleep on in bed with their humans live longer.
Oh,
So anyway,
that's
um,
so cool.
so I grew up watching Monty Python and Faulty Towers and all that, and then I did a couple of things at work, a little stand up, and then I thought, well, I want to start doing stand up, and so there's a place in Austin. It used to be called it's called Highland Mall. Anyway, like I said on your the profile, the bio, the I went to a club on a Saturday night, or, excuse me, a bar, and there was nobody there, but there was a bar. So I talked to them. I got 75% of the bar, which, is a couple $100 a night.
Wow.
Um, yeah, that paid for a few things. And so then I started doing that, and then I started doing the Access TV show, and I would go to clubs, bring comedians in. A couple of them helped me write sketches. The sketch that came off to top of my head was called Pickpocket Fisherman. And back then, there was a thing called the Fisher thing. And so the skit was he would release his line, and a hook would grab a guy's wallet, and he would reel it in. And so we would show a hook with the wallet hanging down, the pickpocket fisherman. I did one called the Gender Bender, way ahead of my time, way ahead of my time. And it was a stationary bike, and I had a still shot on it, and I got people of different race, colors, sex, everything to ride the bike. And then in the studio, we could edit it where it would just fade in and fade out, fade in, fade out, fade in. And the punchline of the whole thing was me on the bike, completely naked, complete a side shot, so you couldn't see anything. And the punchline was, if you're unhappy with your gender, to get on this gender bender, and as long as you kept exercising, you can do a black man, a white woman, a da 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 da, or a naked man. And there I was, just naked as hell. So that was my 1986 body, not my 2025 body. I would never do that today. So so we did Humor to Hilton for quite a few years. In fact, I had so many comedians that wanted to. I gotta back up, the sun's shining on me. I had so many comedians that wanted to go on stage. I had to keep a spreadsheet of their name, the date they went on, and how many minutes, because they were bothering me. Like, hey, I want to go up, I want to go up. I go, look, you just went up 2 weeks ago. I don't know where that spreadsheet is. Uh, but I remember vividly looking at all these comedians, and I don't know any of them now, um, that that wanted to go up, and the demand to get stage time. You know this. In New York, it's in Austin. It's just unbelievable. Tuesday night, I went to a club in Austin, and the show starts, and so he signed them all up, and I wasn't going to go up because I wasn't ready. I will go next Tuesday, but I was the only one in the audience. All the other comedians were in the very back. There's me and another person were in the audience, and it's like, and the club's like, well, we need to bring in more people. Well, the comedians are drinking and they're eating, which is fine. That's bringing in revenue. Um, but it's just amazing to me how many people not only think they're funny, okay, but then they write the material, but then they got the cojones to get on stage, which is the first person. It's just you know how it is. Your heart's up here and you're nervous, as you should be. And it's just I love it. I love it that there's so many people in Austin that want to do this. And not to be a snob, but as you know, not all of them are funny. And the worst is all comedians know, the worst is when you say a punchline and there's nothing. Not even a boo, not even an FU, not even there's nothing. There's nothing. And there was this one guy on stage. I don't even know his name, but I was on the second row. They were talking to me. They were talking to me, and I was paying attention. And whatever he said, I just kept looking at him. And I didn't do anything. I didn't laugh. I didn't smirk. I just kept looking at him. And I think this is the truth. It's just not funny. You know, but there were a lot that were good.
Yeah. It's hard, because like for instance, the other day I went to an open mic because you could win a real show spot by going to an open mic here in New York. So I went to this particular open mic, and this comedian said, "I'm a feminist." And I thought, "Oh, that's kind of cool. That's a unique angle. This should be good." And he said, "But I can't stand women that serve in the military." Okay, I was like one of the only people that was, in the rows, and I was like, and I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I said I served in the army. Like,
Was that his, was that his punchline?
yeah. So the
Oh,
big twist was I'm a feminist, but I don't like women that served in the military. Okay, well, why don't you make it funny? Because it really kind of sounds just mean and sexist right at this point, but whatever.
well, the reason, Linda, it sounded that way is because it was. And 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 let me tell you something else, if I can continue, please. Um, I've noticed that more and more comedians are having to do a disclaimer before their show. And Rick Gervais had a deal. I forgot what he said. Um, he says, I'm doing jokes about the subject. I'm not the rapist. I'm doing a joke about rape. And the joke was good. I forgot what it was. It wasn't violent or anything like that. It was more, it turned it on the rapist, turned it on him. And and I've just noticed that more and more that the comedians are having to do a disclaimer to tell the audience this is a joke. You are at a comedy show. And so I do that. I do that on my comedy show. And I'm gonna keep it clean, but on stage it's not clean. And I say, look, this is a comedy club. You're to watch jokes. If a joke offends you, come sit on the front row so all the comedians can F with you. And they're like, no, we're good. We're good. No one wants to sit on the front row. No one, and I always keep an empty seat on the front row. If you're offended by any joke, sit down right here. Um, and at one show, I even made a dunce hat, and I have a stool. I haven't done it yet, but I've made the hat. A stool. You, you and I are old enough to know that there's dunces in the class, and so I want a stool up by the left of the stage. And if you're offended, go sit on that stool and put on your dunce hat. It looks like a KKK hat. It's really awful. But just a cone, and it says dunce on it. And you sit there through the next comedian until you're over yourself or whatever, whatever. I'm gonna bring that. I'm gonna start doing that. But you can go to the website, how to make a dunce hat. You can cut it out and write dunce on it. So excuse me. So I wanna
I have a question. In the shows that you've done, whether it's been on Access Television there in Austin or live or on Zoom, have you ever had a big coincidence? I had a huge coincidence happen, and I won't tell you what it is till I find out. Have you ever had somebody come that you hadn't seen in years, or you never met them, or you ran into somebody that you used to know and you realized it right then?
The only thing I can think of was there is a guy named Eddie Gosling. And I don't know if you know who that is, but he's a comedian. He lived in San Antonio, and he would drive up to Austin to do humor at the Hilton for me. He would do 3 to 5 minutes. He was a big guy at the time. He's lost a whole bunch of weight, and he looks really, really good. And he'd turn around and drive back. And I never forgot that. I go, you're driving all the way from San Antonio. If you don't know San Antonio, Austin, it's a good hour. It's a good hour drive. And I go, you're driving an hour to come up here and do 3 minutes for my show. And I really appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. And now he's a writer and is traveling all over the country, headlining. He's headlining. He now goes, I think he now goes by Ed Gosling, not Eddie Gosling. And I think, this is really good that you continued with what you were doing. And if I had anything to do with it, great. If not, you're sticking to you're sticking to your craft, which
Absolutely.
I think is great. I think is
That's
great.
so great. So I had okay, so when I fly or take Amtrak, I ask them if I could tell jokes on the train or at the waiting rooms at the airports. And they'll give
Okay.
me the microphone because, I just don't look intimidating. And one time I was at LaGuardia and I got the microphone and I was setting up my camera, and this guy sitting there, he said, "Do you want me to film you?" And I said, "Well, sure, thank you." He takes my camera, I get home, and he's put himself in the video. So he's doing this, videotaping me with him in the picture frame. So it's
What the
got,
hell?
I know, and I'm like, who does that? Right? And I thought, all right, well, he just couldn't get over himself. He had to do it. So then I thanked him for the video. I never said it bothered me or anything like that. I posted it on my YouTube. So I go to St. Mark's Comedy Club the other day here in New York, and I go up on stage and do my comedy, and this guy goes up and does his comedy. And afterwards, he goes, "Weren't you the lady that did comedy at the airport?" And he never told me he was a comedian.
That wasn't very nice.
And he's like a motivational speaker, and he's got a missing leg, and he's hysterically funny, but he never told me he was a comedian. And I get this video with him in it, and then he's at this open mic. I thought, what a coincidence.
Yeah, yeah. It's we were at Central Park. We were just about to walk in Central Park this last time I was in New York, and we ran into the pedicab guy that did taken us around a couple of nights ago. And there he was. He just sitting there. I go, hey, hey, and he go, oh, yeah. And we just said hi, and I was like,
So crazy.
it's yeah. And you think
Another time,
about that.
I'll
I'm
tell
sorry,
you
go
that
ahead.
this other thing happened. This isn't really like that kind of coincidence, but hilarious, funny thing happened. I was at Wise Guys. It was my home club in Las Vegas when I was there for 5 years. I just moved to New York. So 5 years ago, for 5 years, I was at Wise Guys every week. And I had met and talked to a person named Dave. And so this lady walks in and she's just buff and gorgeous, like just like any other person, And the woman comes up to me and's talking, and then she says, "You don't recognize me, do you? Do you recognize my voice? Because you interviewed me." And I, "Oh, you're Dave." So she was in drag one night, but I had interviewed the comedian Dave, not Kitty Pineapple. So what Kitty Pineapple,
Oh,
what she did that night, they only had 3 minutes that you could go on stage at the open mic. So she came in earlier that night as Dave, did her 3 minutes, left, changed her outfit, came back in and signed up as Kitty Pineapple and got to.
so she got 6 minutes. That's that's one way of doing it.
I
What a,
thought it
what a
was
great,
so,
I'm jealous. What a great
I,
idea.
yeah, I thought that was hysterical.
Wow.
So, what are
Wow.
some other things you've seen happen at your shows and comedy clubs that's memorable like that?
Um, Let me tell you something that worries me. Not worries me, but concerns me
Uh-huh.
is I see the comedy shows where a heckler uh, and gets violent and wants to come on stage and gets mad. That's always in the back of my mind. Now, granted, the people I invite, majority of them are my friends. I know them, and or they're friends of friends, and so that's not a big concern. But it's always in the back of my mind. I'm not a big guy. I'm five, laying down, laying down. I'm taller laying down than I am. That's a joke. Um, well, I'll work on that. Never mind. Anyway, that always that always worries me that there's going to be somebody in the audience that's going to get upset. Not just this guy, just gonna come after me. So so like I said, I do the disclaimer, but I also try to watch the audience because when they're doing my show, I'm not in the audience. I'm off to the stage. I'm off the stage, kind of facing the comedian in the audience because I got to run up on stage, and I'll tell you a story after that. But so I kind of try to watch the audience, and if everyone having fun, all this other stuff, and kind of watch out if people aren't having fun, and then if I'll talk to them, say, hey, you okay? You got offended, blah blah blah. But my go-to punchline, since it's on a Saturday, I'll say to the guy, I go, what's the matter? Are you upset? He goes, no. I go, you're upset because Chick-fil-A is not open tomorrow. And that kind of settles every day. The story I was going to tell you is when I was doing humor at the Hilton, um, there was a stage and then there was the bar. I didn't like it because the bar was actually in the room, so you could hear the bar talk and stuff like that, but it was the best we could get. But then there was these double doors with these portal windows. And I was staying on the other side of the double door and talked to the next comedian so I didn't disturb the show. And I'm there looking, talking to a guy, and I look through the portal and the stage is empty. It's completely empty. I go, oh crap, the stage is empty. So I go running up there, and I found out later on that the guy got up there for 30 seconds, bombed, totally bombed, and just walked off the stage. I thought I had 3 or 4 minutes to visit with people, and I thought, oh no, the show must go on. And I'll never forget. I went running up there and continued the show.
One
So
time in Portland, Oregon, I was doing a lot of things at Harvey's Comedy Club in Portland. And there we had, okay, so picture this, a big picture window, like 100 feet long, window. You're in a goldfish bowl doing an open mic in this room. And outside
okay.
the window are homeless people.
Oh no.
So the stage is you backed up against that window. So the audience is watching the homeless debacles instead of you.
Yeah.
Made no
Yeah.
sense. And so this one day, these two homeless guys, they're fighting with each other. And so we had a host that was a little bit on the spectrum, like a
Okay.
lot. And so he made choices, and his choices didn't align with, the choices I would make. So instead of letting it go, he bangs on the window and goes, yeah, he's trying to egg these two guys on to fight with each other. So they decide to break their bottles of beer that they had and charge into the open mic. And
Wow.
that was the end of that host at the comedy club. They didn't have him come back.
So he instigated it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is a thing that it is a private place, and if you upset somebody, they're going to kick you out forever.
Yeah.
It's you gotta, but yeah, like I want to ask you about something you just said when you said on the spectrum. I've never heard this before. You said those are choices that I wouldn't make.
Yeah.
Is that okay? All right,
Yeah.
I like that. I may those are choices I wouldn't make. So you're not judging. You're just saying I wouldn't make that choice. You're not
Probably
even.
wouldn't make the choice if I was on the spectrum.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're not telling someone what to do. You're just saying I wouldn't. Nah, that wouldn't be my choice.
You can
I
get
love
away
it.
with being judgmental by making an I statement.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd rather throw myself under the bus. I don't think it's funny making fun of the homeless, but the comedy club part is funny because who in their right mind makes the stage backdrop be all the homeless people in Portland, Oregon?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. And that reminds me, if we're okay on time, I
Yes.
want to I want to tell you something about the guy that you met him. It was Jeff Locklear, the guy that was sitting next to me. We were talking uh about the R word, how it's no longer politically correct to say the R word. And I was debating with him about it. And I Googled this, the definition, and we had kind of moved off to the subject, and the other guy was there too. Um, and I said, I want to read you something, and you tell me what you think about this. I go, um, to hold back in terms of progress, development, and accomplishment. To hold back. And he go, what do you mean? What is that word? If you look at someone and um, and they've made a poor choice. Okay, they've made a poor choice. To me, they have held back in terms of progress, development, and accomplishment. That was a poor, you didn't accomplish anything by doing that. You held back on what you could do. That is the definition of retard. That's the definition. It's right here. And I said, I'm not, when I say the word, I don't like the word either, but I'm not talking about the mentally handicapped or the mentally challenged. I'm talking about somebody who supports a candidate and they're voting against their own interest. To
Wow.
me, to me, you are holding back in terms of progress, development, and accomplishment because
Wow.
you know, and and so we went back and forth, and that was the whole thing. I'd read the definition to him, and I said, "That's when I say the word, which I don't like saying, and I've only said it once or twice. That's what I want to go deeper, and it has nothing to do with. It's like, for example, I tell a black joke, and I tell a Mexican joke first, and I'll tell you what the joke is. The joke is this, and I open with this,
That's so funny. I tell a Mexican joke first
and
to warm them up.
that's the shtick. That's the shtick. And so I get on stage and I'm starting the show and I go as a white guy, and everyone that drops in their chair like, oh shit, there's a white guy. I go, as a white guy, the biggest problem I have with Mexicans, and I go, oh shit, he's going somewhere. What's he gonna say? I said, the biggest problem I have with Mexicans is they work too hard. They really do work too hard. I go, they're doing the house, they're doing the gardening, they're doing landscape, they're doing all this stuff, and it's affecting my white privilege. And my dad told me a long time ago, he said, boy, that's what he called me, was boy, you know, you're in the service, if you're a lower rank, you call him a boy. And uh, he said, boy, don't don't let her mess with your white privilege. And then he flew away in his helicopter. And I go, the other problem I have with Mexicans, they're all gone. They've all been deported. We can't get anything done. The grass is tall, my roof leaks, the tiles cracked, everything's messed up. Nothing's clean. It's all dirty because Whitey, we're not going to fix that roof leak. We're not going to fix that tile. We're not going to cut the grass. We're
What am
not
I
going
going to do with all this leftover Fabuloso?
to. We got extra fabuloso. We don't know what to do. So,
Gonna have to send that back where it came from. Um, I say, I don't really care for, talking about people that are slow, but because of the PC culture, stripping away our freedom of speech. I can't even talk about the Christmas trees that don't start on fire, or or those really cool pajamas that with the feet. They were fire, fill in the blank.
They were fire retardant.
Yeah. And retard is also a word that they use in music at the end where it slows down.
Yes. And
So like,
and it's also I'm a pilot, so I watch a lot of pilot videos. The automated voice when it's time to pull back, so you can flare, you can land. They say retard,
yeah,
retard, and you got two pilots looking at each other. Wait, are you a retard? And we're both up here flying this airplane. He just called me a retard.
was your dad a helicopter pilot?
No, F4s. He was
So
a
you, you
F4. He was a reconnaissance pilot in Vietnam for a year and a half. In fact, I'm looking at a poster right now. He flew 18 different airplanes, including the one that I have now. Um, but his favorite obviously was the F4. He flew in Vietnam, no bombs, because he was reconnaissance. And he tells this story that they would fly over the target and take before pictures, okay? And then they would, blow up people. That's what they did. They blew up people. And uh, and then they'd fly over to look at the damage. The exact same route. He said they lost so many planes because the North Vietnamese were like, we know when that airplane's going to go. We know the altitude because they were just here a few days ago, and they're sending SAMs up and knocking airplanes out of the sky. And my dad was shot down. He was shot down, and there's a the this they had miscalculated his altitude, so the rocket went through his ring, excuse me, through his wing, and detonated way above him. And he flew back safely. And there's a picture I have somewhere. I don't know where it is, but they took off the wing, and it's a picture of him looking through the hole on the wing with the biggest grin ever, ever. Just because we're stationed in England, Spain, and so of course when England, Spain, we got to see Europe and everything. But we were in Spain for 4 years, we were in England for 4 years, and then here in Austin for 4 years until he retired. And then one day we were doing something, and he said to me, he said, Randy, I'm tired of looking up at airplanes. He goes, let's buy an airplane. I go, oh, okay then. So we're going to buy an airplane. So we bought this airplane. And we had it for 20 years, flew it. Um, didn't really fly together because he wanted to go to the coast and I wanted to fly in the hill country. So we really didn't fly together. Um, One time when we were flying, he was lieutenant colonel. He was lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. So he didn't hear no a lot unless sir was followed right after it. And you know how that is. And
yeah.
so we were flying one day, straight and level, everything was all hunky dory. And then he stepped on the rudder, and it's all cables and everything. And so the airplane went like that. And I looked at him, he goes, boy, are you riding the rudder? Do you have your foot on the rudder? Well, come to find out, the trim, if you know what a trim is, it's like the boat, like it adjusts the ailerons a little bit to relieve pressure on the yoke. So you're not constantly fighting, you trim it. Well, the trim on the rudder was off. So he was always flying like this. I thought it was fine. I didn't notice it because I was just learning how to fly. But he stepped on the rudder, scared the crap out of me. And anyway, we fixed that.
Wow,
Um,
you have some great memories with your dad.
he's a good guy, but let me tell you one more story if you don't mind.
Yes.
Um, we didn't wear headphones, and so it's a single engine airplane, and it's loud, and so you're essentially screaming at each other. Well, my dad flew airplanes and sat in the left-hand seat with this window open all the time. So he was hard of hearing in his left ear. Okay. Maybe deaf. I don't know. He was hard hearing in his left ear because of the reciprocating engines always roaring and all that kind of stuff. So now he's teaching me how to fly. So now he's in the right-hand seat. So his left ear is on my side. And so he's talking to me, but he's really screaming. He's really screaming. And so one day we go flying, and I had put cotton in my right ear because that's the side that he's on. And he's flying, we're flying along. He looks at me, he goes, Boy, that's what he called me. He said, Boy, what is that in your ear? I go, Dad, it's cotton because you're screaming. Oh, well, sorry about that. Sorry about that. And now we went to the headsets where we don't have to scream. But he was just, unaware of that's how he did. He was in the Air Force for 23 or 24 years. That was like he retired at age 43.
What?
Yep, age 43. Now I think it was kind of I want to say a forced retirement, but you know how it is. Once you get passed over, promotion three seems to be the magic number for everything. Comedy. Once you he was passed up for promotion three times. So he should have retired a full colonel. But after the third time, he saw the writing on the wall and retired when I was 18. I was 18 years old. So died when he was 89. So he had a second life after that, had a Mustang restoration business. So I said he got a shop because he had too many tools at the house. And my mom's like, get that crap out of here. I said, okay. So I'll go rent a shop. And he did that. And we still have it. We still have the shop. That's where I do my comedy. It's an acre and a half shop. It's an acre and a half. And my brother does his repair stuff on the right. And my comedy stage is right there on the left. Full circle. And I do recognize him. In fact, I had a wings, Air Force pilot wings made, and I keep it. I keep it, I'm not going to cry, but I keep it to the left of the stage, just right there. And I tell people what the wings mean, the cluster, the star, all that, that he was a commander of commanders. And and so, if you want to compare our two lives, I've peaked, and I'm still working, but it's nice doing comedy. He would never allow me ever allow me to put a stage at his shop. No, 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 no. He was funny. He had a sense of humor, but he didn't think my jokes were funny because he took them literally. I can't remember what I said. I remember he came to one, he'd never watched me on TV. My mom would record it and then she would watch it later. He would not watch me on TV. And I think he just took the jokes literally. When you say things, it's like, or it was actual truth, because that's what is that expression about comedy? Comedy is tragedy with something. I don't know I can't remember it is, but
Tragedy
comedy,
plus time makes comedy?
I
No.
think so. Pardon me, I got a drink.
One
This is
time,
water.
my sister was dropping me off at the train in California, and she goes, Well, I hate to see you take the train. I said, Well, it's better than having to pull one. She didn't get it. And then when she did get it, she didn't want to get it.
No, no, I hate it when you say a joke, and you say, what's the difference between I'll just, this isn't a joke, but I'll just say, what's the difference between black and white? And you go, well, um, and I go, no, the answer is, Randy, what is the difference between black and white? Let me, not, well, it could be this. I've got this lady right across the street, my neighbor, and she can't not do anything. You can't not say, what is the difference? And let me do my joke. So I've gotten to the point where I just let her go on. And my goal is to not give her the punchline. Just let her talk. And then a few days later, she go, Randy, you never did tell me what the difference was black and white. That's right, Pam. I didn't. I didn't. And now I forgot the difference, so I don't know.
Some people will ruin a joke and you just like, okay, I'm gonna scratch that joke forever.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that's has a bad taste in my mouth. What do you remember a time where you really did well or really did bad that you now look back at and learned something or laugh about it?
Um, I did my cousin turned 60 and I went up to Amarillo and I did a bit up there and I thought I did pretty good, but two things stood out. When I got off stage and the show was over, I was at the bar and this girl comes up to me. She goes, "You looked a lot taller on stage." Go,
Jeez.
what an interesting thing to say.
Of
And then the
course you
thing,
do.
yeah, of course you do. And then the other thing I remember was there was a band, a real nice, like orchestra type band. There were like six or seven of them, and they were playing classical music and things like that. And I remember, and I regret this because I remember at the end of the show, because I was the MC, someone asked me, "Well, would you like the band to play more music?" And I wasn't ready, and so I said no. And I regret that because there are 15 people there and they played their music, but they wanted to play more. People want to play their music. And I regret that now. Say, no, I should have let them continue to play, but and that's the thing that I work on is to be quick on my feet. And I'm not good at it, but I try to interact and ad lib and it's hard. You know how it is. It's when you're just thinking about your material or you're thinking about this, it's hard to just pull something out of a hat that's entertaining and funny. But it's a
Yes,
challenge. It's a challenge. I love it. I love it.
yes. So, um, now we're getting near the close of the time we have together, Carol Burnett. And I was just wondering, what would you like to say to people in a PC world where freedom of speech is at risk and because of the PC culture and all the weird things where people are so depressed? What would you like to hopefully accomplish with your comedy in a crazy, crazy time? Like your
Um,
legacy, what would you like your leg? Let's say you only have 1 week to live. What would you try to accomplish?
okay, Linda, that's three questions.
I know. And I hate it when people do that to me, just so you know.
Um, what came to my head when you asked about the PC and all that is there's no hope. We're all screwed. We're all screwed. Jokingly, we're all screwed. I think that I think there should be more pushback from a comedian standpoint. I think there should be more pushback. The Bill Burr. He was on an interview and he says the lady said, "Well, so and so got offended." He said, "Who? Who got offended? One person? Two people?" And the joke was about this when it was about the Catholic Church. He says, I made a 30-second joke about this, and the Catholic Church is doing that and has covered it up for centuries. Is that, I think that should be called out. I think the comedians should push back. I think we need to push back on politicians, especially if you're the president. If you say something that's not true, it's our job as comedians and journalists. It's our job as comedians to push back and say, no, no, that's not true. That's not what happened. Um, I think that if we grew cojones, um, yeah, it's interesting because the cancel culture is taking a different turn now. It's like the people that were saying you need to be canceled, you need to be canceled, they're now getting canceled. They're now, you can't say that, you can't say that, and I think that's in this particular country, that's worrisome to me
Me
that
too.
that what people say is going to get them in trouble politically, financially, emotionally, physically. Um, that bothers me. that bothers me in this particular country, that's getting taken away from us slowly. And the enemy is from within. We're, we're, we're doing it to ourselves.
We need to
So
speak up about our freedom of speech, is what you're saying.
exactly, which is an oxymoron. It's an oxymoron to have to tell people to speak up for your freedom of speech because that to me, um, I forgot what the other half of your question was. I'm sorry.
I think you just called me a moron. Thank you. How did
It
you know
was
I'm on OxyContin?
it was if what do I do if I only had 7 days to live? Um, I'd go flying. Uh, I'd go out on the lake. Uh, I'd beg my wife to make love to me. That's what begging is. No, 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 no. I just stepped on it. Uh, uh, Foreplay is 5 minutes of begging. That's a good question. That's a good question. Not to get sentimental, but I'd go see all my nieces and nephews, uh, uh, hang out with them. I'd call my estate planner and say, "Hey, you're up." And the reason I say, and real quick, the reason I say that of the 6 kids, I was put in charge of everything. My dad's got 3 rental properties that I had to take care of. That's the water leak I was talking about earlier. And 2 days ago, I was underneath this pier and beam house, just covered in mud, fixing this leak. I had to crawl on there. My stomach muscles are hurting because I was crawling, and I thought to myself, that's why I have an airplane because I'm in here in the mud. And of the other 5 kids, no one's under this house right now but me. And I've got mud everywhere and it smells like sewage. I got to go back and fix this leak, whatever. And so, last 7 days, I just tell everybody I love them and that it's going to be all right. And pay the mortgage. Mortgage isn't paid for. You got this mortgage isn't paid for. You need to finish paying the mortgage or you're going to lose the house.
Absolutely. Well, let's plug theaustincomedy.com.
Okay.
And your next show is September 20th at 6:30, doors open.
Doors open at 6:30. Show starts at 7. I try real hard to start the show at 7 or 5 after. I don't want to be the guy, I hate the people that got there at 7 and they've been sitting and we wait 15 minutes. I don't like doing that. I want to get started at 7, 7:05. People can get home. Um, it's theawesomeComedy.com. Anyone that wants to come up, I've let them go up. I They kind of know whether they were successful or not because they'll call me. A lot have been up who don't call me back, which is fine. That's the way it is. If you're interested in coming, it's once a month. I try to do it the first Saturday of the month, but University of Texas Longhorns are playing, and I got tickets to the first 2 home games. Can't do comedy.
Nope.
So that's why it's the 20th. I love doing this. I'm open to ideas. We had a band. Is kind of crowded on the stage. I probably won't do a 5-piece band anymore. Maybe just a small, but it's a 12 by 16 stage. So it's plenty of room for 2 guys, 3 guys. And uh, don't worry about the mosquitoes. I provide the mosquitoes. Bring drink your peppermint drink or wear off. I provide off. I literally have cans of off, and I just say, don't be shy. I don't want you to get bit by mosquitoes. Spray up. It's Austin, Texas. We're used to smelling like. Actually, some of the offs don't smell too bad nowadays. They don't. They don't smell like chemicals. Which is a chemical in itself. That the perfume is a chemical in itself. It just smells better. So yeah, once a month. Um, Love to have you. I've had people from California. I had 2 guys from California come in because they knew a comedian and they did their 5 to 7 minutes. It's usually not longer than 10. 10, 10 seems to be the magic number for amateurs. 15, you're kind of like, unless you're really, really good. I'm pushing, 7. It's 5, 7, and 3, 5, 3, 5, 7, and 10 is the for as you know, those are the magic numbers.
Very good. All right. And
So,
so they can follow you on social media as Randy Taylor.
um, my website, I always forget my Instagram. I think it's Randy Taylor Comedy. No, I'm sorry. I'm 65. God, I
That's
don't.
all right.
I am on Instagram out there. My main way of communicating people is my website. I have the comedians log in or send me an email, and then I have a separate mailbox or what I'm talking about address book for just the comedians as opposed to the other people. So if people send me an email, if they want me to send them back an email on the dates, and I always say if you don't want to have, if you don't want any emails, just reply and just say piss off in the subject and I'll remove. And nobody's told me to piss off. So that's, I have to put in, hey, if you don't want to hear from me, let me know because I'll let you know. If I want to unsubscribe, in my case, it's just piss off. And that's, that's from England. In
Really?
England, yeah, in England, instead of dropping the F bomb, they say piss off. That means go
That-
away. Piss off. It's piss off. Piss off. Piss off.
Do you know in London, if you say the word Trump, it means to pass gas?
I did not know that.
I swear.
Wow. Before he became a politician, I'm
Yes.
gonna because I know what Randy means. You
What's
know
it
what
mean?
Randy means horny. And remember the Austin Powers movie? He says, "Do I make you Randy? Do I make you Randy?"
Oh,
That's what that is. So I went to England with my family, of course, and I was 8 years old. Didn't know what Randy meant. And I come up to people, I go, "Hi, I'm Randy." And I go, "Okay, an 8-year-old horny kid. Great." It was, I think maybe 11 or 12, I realized, and my parents too. It's like, oh my God, we're in England and we named our son Horny.
when you
But
go to London, when was the last time you were in London?
oh, it's 72.
Oh,
70,
wow.
we left in 72. We would go to London every summer. Yeah, 72. Um, I
So I went there about a year and a half ago to the Comedy Store, and they have this thing there. It's a different comedy store than ours, separate. And they have a thing where it's like the Gong Show, where they pack the house with people that are coming to boo you off the stage.
that's
And,
that's the purpose.
yeah. And so you have to be really good, and you will not get booked anywhere in London unless you last 5 minutes on the stage. Nobody does, very rarely. I didn't see anybody my night, but a lot of people, they'd go on stage and open their mouth and they'd get booed off with their first joke before they got to the punchline. But I went all the way to 3 minutes and 14 seconds. I was so happy with that. And I know why I got kicked off because I had a joke that was a little bit too much wordplay, and they don't like puns or wordplay.
I can see that. So is that a rite of passage? You say you have to go here, get booed, and then they'll book you at other clubs. You have to go. That's beautiful. That's wow.
It's a real pet rite of passage there. You have to make it 5 minutes to get booked in the major clubs.
Okay. Okay.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, wait. You say, oh, in the major clubs. You're not, you can go to other clubs.
You can go to offshoots like bars and independently produce things, but to get in the real clubs, you got to make it 5 minutes at the Comedy Store, at the
At the
Gong
comedy
Show.
store. That's interesting. And you say not very many people make it? We're talking
No,
obviously amateurs. Amateurs just trying to get started or whatever. The professionals aren't going to stoop to that. They don't have to because they're getting booked anyway.
yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. That's interesting. I don't know if Austin would, I don't know. I don't know. So I do have one goal. My ultimate goal is, since it is an acre and a half, and I ran this by my brother, even though I own the place, I do want to build a comedy venue, a real building and everything. And I've got to deal with the city of Austin and permits and money and all that kind of stuff. But there is room where I'm doing my stuff right now, to build a real comedy outdoor comedy place. So I
Wow.
gotta, that's the goal. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But we got to get air conditioning because our first show in March, the first show in March and April, it was so cold. It was a nice day, and then a cold front came in, and I've got pictures of people huddled in blankets where they could only, this is the only part. And then the next month, it was nice, and then it got cold. And so I did this bit where I took water and formatted it into two huge balls of water. And at the second show, I said, "Hey, you all, this guy, he froze his balls off." And I pulled out this bag with two frozen balls, huge balls. And I threw them away. I said he left his balls here because he froze his balls off, and there they are. I'm holding them in a bag. And my wife, she looked in the freezer because it took a few days to form it, and she says, "Why are there frozen balls in the refrigerator, the freezer?" And I go, "You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it." She says, "No, I don't want to get it either. I don't just do whatever you do."
My mom, she ran a bar for most of her life, taverns and bars, and she would hear the best jokes, and she would call my sister to tell my sister the jokes, but my sister would hear them literally and wouldn't get them. And so when my sister got married to this guy that has a real good sense of humor, she'd just call and say, "Put Cam on the phone.
Yeah.
Explain it to your wife."
Yeah, yeah, and that's, if you have to explain the joke, you've lost them.
Yes.
You've lost them. And I'm working on a bit where that is the bit, where I explain it. I explain it to everyone else. Everyone gets it anyway, but I break it down. And the kind of, this is the joke. This is the setup. And oh, and by the way, I do have a sign on a paddle, and it says "Laugh Now." And so if there's the comedian new ones, and I don't tell them I'm going to do this, and I'll just do laugh now. And I also tell the comedians, I said, riff on me. I go, cut me down. I don't mind. I go, make fun of my height, make fun of the fact that this is a car repair place of junk cars and mosquitoes. Riff on me. And one joke I wrote, this girl wouldn't do it, but the joke was, Randy allowed me to get up here to do 3 to 5 minutes. I'm still not going to sleep with him. Well, I worked with this girl. I thought it was a great joke. I thought it was great, but a lot of her coworkers are there, so she didn't do it. But on the other side of my sign that says "Laugh Now," I rotate it and I say "Not funny." So now if they riff on me, I'm gonna go. I just hold up the sign. I said, "Not funny, not funny," and that's the laugh. That's the
Oh,
laugh.
funny. That's great. I do this thing about how I joined the military because I went to the post office, and I got this whole thing about the poster of Uncle Sam. And but I went to the post office and I go, now a post office, and then where you send a letter. Now a letter with a pen. Now a pen, I just break it down to ad nauseum.
Yeah, yeah. I still write checks. I still have stamps. There's some people that have never ever written a check, Linda. They've never written a check. That's the generation we're in right now. But yeah, yeah, you're right. I'm working on a bit right now about the evolution of the phone since in my lifetime. And I go all the way back to when we were in elementary school, and you remember this, we used to write notes to people. We used to write them on a piece of paper and fold them and pass them to somebody, and they would pass them down to somebody. That was the first way we used to communicate with people. We used to go outside and play and talk and scream, and we used to do all that. And and I'm working on the evolution of how we in my lifetime. Do you remember the long cord? The phone. There was one phone in the house. There was a long cord went all the way up to the other side of the room. Then all phones were black. And then came out orange and pink. The Princess phone. Remember, it's called the Princess phone. And there was orange phones and blue phones and then all fancy phones. And then all the landlines went away. And now we this it's within reach. You always have this thing, the computer. Okay, I'll work
I
on it.
have this thing where I called my parents from Germany when I was in the military, and then I take a brick and put it up to my head, and I go, "This was a phone in 1973."
And they called it the brick.
Yeah,
They called it brick. I had a bag phone, black bag, this big. It was a bag phone, and it was yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I do this thing where I say, how we old people and young people, we need to get along because we have so much in common. So I Googled all the things that we have in common, and I made this big long list of everything we have in common. And then I lost the list. And I was like, oh, I hope some young comedian doesn't find it and start telling nah, they won't because I wrote it in cursive. So
can't read
stupid, so stupid. Sometimes I take people on a ride just for one word, cursive.
it. Well delivered. Well delivered. I like it.
Thank you.
I
Well, I
like
hope
it.
you have a wonderful day, and I will render this up to YouTube and send you the YouTube version if you'll share it.
I will, and I want to thank you for your time. This was
Like,
fun. I don't know how long we've been talking. It seems like just a few minutes, and enjoyed this, and
me too.
we can
Thank you.
follow each other and see what happens.
Thank you so much for taking time to come on my podcast. I appreciate it a
It
lot.
was fun, Linda. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. September 20th in Austin, the comedy,
The
theaustincomedy.com.
There you go.
I
There you
got it.
go. All right, Linda.
All right. Bye,
Thank you.
Randy Taylor. Love you lots.
Bye bye.
Bye.